He's been a state senator. He's been in Congress. He has run for president. Now, Dennis Kucinich is making yet another run for office. The 77-year-old Democrat filed Wednesday to run as an independent for the seat in Congress now held by Republican Max Miller. Kucinich makes his formal announcement next Wednesday.
Hey, what's the last commercial for my one-liner?
A Trumbull County grand jury has indicted a mother whose 8-month-old child died after ingesting methadone. 32-year-old Eris Rice was indicted on charges including involuntary manslaughter following an investigation which began back on September 24th when the little boy was found unconscious and not breathing in a bedroom of an apartment in the Trumbull homes. The Ohio Department of Transportation is once again asking the public to be cautious around snowplow trucks, as a 10th truck has been hit this year. The latest incident happened early this morning along I-71 in Medina County when a box truck tried to pass a snowplow and hit the truck's plow blade. No injuries were reported, but this is already the 10th incident involving ODOT trucks being hit so far this year. ODOT officials say they can't stress enough how important it is to pay attention and give crews room to work. I'm Andy Betts.
Your latest news, traffic, and weather.
If you're not informed, then you're out of the loop.
All you have to do is ask.
Play 610 WTVN on iHeartRadio.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's. Wendy's Breakfast 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles lets you choose your perfect duo from your fave four, like a sausage or egg and cheese biscuit, small seasoned potatoes, or medium hot coffee. Limited time only during breakfast hours. U.S. price and participation may vary. Not valid in the combo. Single item at regular price.
Let's eavesdrop on a recent video conference call with the staff at Apex Pros.
So, beginning in 2024, the newest thing we will be pros at is electrical work. Are there any questions? Yes, Gary.
You're on mute. Sorry, I think I was on mute.
You had a question about Apex Pros being the pros who knows about plumbing, heating and cooling, and now electrical. Go ahead.
You're on mute. Oops, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
So, Apex Pros knows electrical work in the home. And
somebody's dog barking.
Sorry, that was my dog barking.
Yes. Well, it looks like we're out of time, so just to recap, Apex Pros helps homeowners with plumbing, heating and cooling, and now electrical too. Does that answer your question, Gary? Gary?
You're on mute.
Hi, it's Alex, the Apex Bear. We are the pros who knows. Electrical, too. The official plumber of the Columbus Blue Jackets. ApexPros.com.
Today, we help to clear up any site issues you may have, and the news, well, it's kind of crazy. Are you on a list of potential mass shooters? You may be surprised what the government now says is the criteria. All up next.
Live from LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility, this is On Target, the latest from the firearms industry, the products and politics that affect your hobby and liberty. This program may not be politically correct, but it is On Target. Now, your host, Eric Delbert.
Good afternoon. Welcome to On Target. We're broadcasting live from the studios of LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility. That's located at 999 Bethel Road. Just west of 315. Had to think where I'm at. It's just like Joe Biden, John. I had to think where I'm at.
Yeah.
Jeez.
You don't know where you are.
Yes. Hey, did I tell you the new T-shirts we're going to have made up?
No, I did not.
We get sidetracked like right off the bat here.
Okay,
well, you know,
we
sell the Corn Pop was a bad dude T-shirts here. You know, for those kind of in honor of one of the president's prior speeches. But I think we're going to have a new shirt. It's going to say, "Where's Deborah?"
Yeah, where's Deborah?
Did you see that, Ed?
I believe I did.
Did you watch that last night?
She was in the crowd, but then again, she wasn't.
Well, he just had his picture taken with her. Just in the hallway.
Oh, wait, no, she wasn't here.
And I don't see her now. Oh, I guess she's in Washington, D.C.
I mean, that was eerie. It was scary. I mean, regardless of what you think of the president or his abilities or his views or whatever, you watch that and you say, oh my, this man is leading our country.
Yeah.
That is scary times.
Finger on the nuclear button.
Scary.
Where is that button anyway?
I just saw it.
Yeah. He'll probably hit it trying to change a TV remote. That's the thing I'm worried about, you know? Jeez. Guys, I don't want to downplay today's show because I'm really excited about what we're talking about today, but I was getting prepared a little ahead of time, JC, imagine that, for a couple weeks ahead. You know, in 2 weeks, we're going to have our SHOT Show special show where we go through some of the things that are released at SHOT Show. Always a fun time to go through some of that. And I think, fingers crossed, hopefully we're going to have a guest call in. I'm not going to say his name, but he's very fond of the 45.
Yes, he
and
is.
Pretty tall guy and stuff, but hopefully that is going to come to fruition here in 2 weeks.
Now, that would be great. Yeah.
In 3 weeks, again, I'm not getting him ahead of myself here, but in 3 weeks, I think we're going to have Jim Jordan on.
That would be so good.
Yeah, and it's very pertinent because some of the news today,
great individual.
Yeah, was directly related to him and stuff. So there's a few things to look forward to. But today, of course, we are the owners of LEPD Firearms Range and Training Facility. We're located at 999 Bethel Road. And on Saturdays, well, we put together a group of firearm experts to discuss new products in the market, training tips, and oftentimes political topics surrounding the Second Amendment. But our commitment has always been to bring you the facts about our industry and help listeners and customers with safe, responsible ownership of firearms.
Absolutely.
Today, we talk sights. You going to be up for that, Ed?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
What kind of sights?
All kinds of sights on your pistol.
On the gun. I think
yes.
you're talking about on the phone.
Huh? No. So, sometimes we take it for granted. And I look back, John, we hadn't had a show dedicated to sights or iron sights. It's been 4 or 5 years, and it's something that we talk about every day in here. The gunsmith Sean, he's always putting on new sights for people, and the first time a firearm walks in the door, a new model, the guys are all, hey, what kind of sights they got on that? So it's a topic that we take for granted a lot of times.
It's one of the least expensive upgrades to your pistol over what the factory sights are. So they're great.
So we're going to talk a little bit about what comes with the pistols today. Are they adequate? And if they aren't for you, then what are some of the options for changing those out? So that's going to be up at 12:30. Going to be a good discussion there. Have a whole table full of sights and optics and guns and all kinds of good stuff. Before that, JC's going to get us updated on some news, and there's quite a bit of news. Some scary stuff, John. I mean, you and I talked last night for, an hour and a half?
Yeah.
And there is some, and some of this is a little bit of a leftover from something we reported on a couple years ago, but it's right back in the news, and even a little worse than we thought. So we're going to talk about that up shortly. And at this point, let's say we have a gun of the week, JC. I don't know if we've ever done a virtual gun of the week that's not even on the market yet.
Virtual gun of the week, yes.
But it is a gun of the week that we got a little glimpse of, and if it's true, this is really, really a neat thing.
Yeah, we saw on the video on the working prototype, but they also have a list of things they're going to make improvements of. I think they're going to present it at the SHOT Show.
Yeah, but we're going to talk about that one today. That's coming up here shortly as well. We'd like to thank our sponsors: Jackson Egress Windows, Black Wing Shooting Center, River's Edge Cutlery, CNS Engraving, and of course LEPD Training Facility, all who make the show possible each week. Joining me today in the LEPD studios, Mr. Douglas is taking the day off, catching up. He is all over the radio during the week and stuff, I feel bad having him come in on Saturdays because he's so busy. What's that?
No, you don't.
Well, no, I do. I feel bad.
Come on.
But he is going to take the day with the family and stuff, which is good. To my right, though, I have Big Edward. Edward, good to see you.
Good morning, afternoon, Saturday, happy.
Yep. Can't complain. A little chilly, but you know what? On the horizon, 50 degrees this week.
Yeah, it's going to melt all that snow out of the driveway.
Oh, no. I wish it would wash the salt off my car.
Give it a chance.
To my left, I have Big JC. Good seeing you, as always. So, Ed, we've kind of been a little bit negligent on the Chicago update, but I thought it was that time. We were 20 days into the month and stuff. How are our dear friends over in Chicago, who have some of the strictest of gun laws, so you know that crime has to be
It's got to be
down.
Chicago's actually down in homicides for the year, but it has been under 6 degrees out there, so for the past 2 weeks. So we have 18 homicides for the year, and a number of people shot also down. Well, down, I say, the average is 8.5 people shot a day in the Windy City.
Can you believe that? I looked at that last night.
So the guy that was the 0.5?
Yes. He was kind of shot.
Kind of shot.
Kind of shot,
It was probably the sideways hold of the gun and the guy hit in the butt cheek.
Yeah, but 8.5 people a day shot in the city of Chicago. That's incredible. That was last year's numbers, by the way. I think right now they're averaging 4 people a day, which is down, but the temperature has been 6 degrees for the last 10 days. So
it gets cold holding your hand out there sideways and shooting a gun.
It is. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, that snow builds right up on that. Yeah, it makes it a little tough to. Yeah, I agree with you.
If you missed a show, you can always catch the podcast at 6610wtvn.com, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, or everywhere your podcast would be. We're out there. Also on Facebook Live. Good news, guys. We are there with YouTube, and now it relies on me, which is not always the quickest of things, but shortly we're going to be simulcasting this on both YouTube and Facebook. I got to do a couple of things on the backside to get that up and running.
Wow, that'll be good.
But yeah, we're looking forward to that here shortly. JC, it is that time for the news. Do you have anything good?
Well, we do have some good things, but not very much. But we have one that really could pay off in the end. So, all right, let's just talk about. We talked about Jim Jordan, and he is a great U.S. representative, and he is from Ohio, and we'll really look forward to having him on in the office. Well, he is the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, and of course, I think there were 3 votes on him to become Speaker of the House. That did not prevail, but anyway, what a great guy. So he just blew the lid off of a shocking, but it's a clandestine Biden administration scheme to use the merchant category codes, MCCs. That is, anytime you purchase something from a store, there's a code associated with it. Well, this is a clandestine Biden administration scheme. And he also, they found out that they're also doing internet searches, the Biden administration, to track Americans without their knowledge or without any evidence of crimes, keeping their eye on you for whatever nefarious means that they want to put this to. But Representative Jordan sent a letter to the Treasury Department. Okay, Treasury Department, and they have a strategic operations division. That kind of makes sense, but part of that of the division is the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. So when you think of financial crime, you think, hey, money laundering, this kind of schemes that are going on. That's called FinCEN, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. What they found is that the FinCEN was now outlining, under the Biden direction, typologies. What type of person could be using their finances? So what they've done in these merchant codes. So these are supposed persons of interest. Not that they've committed any crimes. You may think of terrorists buying stuff. Nope. This is using the MCCs to track suspected lone actors, okay, but also homegrown violent extremism indicators, which are people who buy firearms. So all of us, millions and millions and millions of us, but they want to know who is buying firearms and where you are. So that they actually are using these MCCs to track suspected folks. And Chairman Jordan wrote, he said, the quote was, "This kind of pervasive financial surveillance carried out in coordination with and at the request of the federal law enforcement into Americans' private transactions is alarming and raises serious doubts about FinCEN's respect for the fundamental civil liberties." So, keeping track of anybody who buys. On TV, one guy, when it was on Fox, just said, "Hey, I went to Cabela's and bought a pair of boots." That would be listed as somebody who is suspect, basically, on the fact that he's buying stuff at Cabela's, which happens to sell firearms. Doesn't say you bought anything. It just says this code, and they want to keep track of people who do things like that.
And the thing is, I think part of the wording out there that I picked up on one of the news stories, it says they may be considered potential active shooters or future active shooters or domestic terrorists. And something that's important to understand with these codes, the MCC code, we have one here. So anytime you, as a store or any entity, accept a credit card, you are assigned that code. And I mean, John, I printed off one page out of 15 pages of codes. I mean, these codes can be very, very specific on what you sell. I'm looking through them here: a hobby store, a card store, a luggage store. So it's very specific. And that code, though, is tied to the store. It's not tied. There's not a different code within the store for different transactions. So it's not like a code goes through for, I bought a firearm, or, I bought a glove today. Our code is always the same, and for us it is 5941, and that is a sporting goods store, just like a Cabela's or a Dick's. And when you think about it, if they're looking at that to isolate people or identify people, and you look at it even, it's on a much grander scale at a Dick's or a Cabela's, that firearms is a very, very small portion of their sales. You could be in there buying a pair of shoes, buying a set of golf clubs, and all of a sudden you're showing up on this list, or at least a cross-reference. The other part of the story, because we've talked about this before, I mean, the banks have been on board and then off board. Yeah. But one of the things that really stuck out for me on this one is they said that they're querying on words like MAGA or Trump. And I thought, well, where is that query? I mean, there's nothing on our transaction. I mean, if they were to look at our transactions, it might say the product name, and none of our names of these products are going to say Trump or MAGA. So what is that talking about? They're looking at Venmo, Zelle, PayPal. So any of these apps where I would send, I'll send you $10, John, for dinner last night, and if you happen to put on there, Trump or MAGA or any of these keywords or the religious stuff they were saying as well, boom, you're targeted or you're on these lists.
This is what is happening in America. I mean, this is just absolutely just amazing. Yeah, and one of our audience just went Zeke Heil. I mean, with the. This is absolutely should be terrifying to Americans.
It should
what
be.
Is happening.
It's
terrifying to us. I certainly know that.
I tell you what, when this came out, when this story initially broke a couple years ago, at the first sign of it, our percentage of cash sales went up dramatically. It did. I mean, people were like, okay, I ain't taking a chance. I don't want them to know that I was even here. I didn't buy any guns today.
We recommended that. If you want to get something, it may take you a while, but you can do $400, cash withdrawals and things like that from that. So when you have it, come in, pay cash for whatever you need, and you won't be on anybody's list.
We've had people even go and buy the gift cards, like the Visa gift cards, and then use that.
Would even be, but it wouldn't tell you what you were purchasing, but the gift card would.
But it would be tied to your name.
Yeah,
I think what it was.
Yeah.
So, JC, let's jump to a break. When we come back, we're going to get to some more news. We're going to get to a gun of the week that's not even here, but we're going to certainly talk about it. We're on Target, broadcasting live from the studios of LEPD Firearms and Range. We'll be back right after the break.
Well, you're going to have a problem when they tag you for buying women's clothes. All those women's clothes you buy, Eric.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, your code's on
it. Didn't say lingerie. It just says clothes.
Just saying.
No. So what this is, there's 14 pages of this. These are the codes that a store could be assigned.
Mm-hmm.
So we are assigned the sporting goods.
Well, we do sell sporting goods.
Right. Maybe I need to try to get that reclassified as crafts and art supplies.
There you go.
I wonder if I could do that.
I'll tell you, it's just, I mean, and if this is what we know about, think of what we don't know about. Financial crimes enforcement. You're going, we got to get these drug dealers and these money launderers.
Goods and games.
Goods and games.
But surveillance by Biden of us.
Well, after him not knowing where his friend was the other day, I don't think we have to worry about surveillance.
Where's Deborah?
Huh?
Where's Deborah?
Yeah. Where's Deborah?
Did you see the video, Ed?
Did you happen to see that? Okay. Well, he was doing a public speech, and he wanted to thanks. He goes, he said, I just got it. He goes, where's Deborah? I was talking to her, and she's out here in the audience, so I don't see her.
Just had my picture taken with her.
We just had our picture taken in the hallway out here. And where is Deborah? He goes, I don't see her. He goes, I go, well, wait a minute, maybe. I think she's in Washington, D.C.
I'm sure at some point he had his picture taken with her. It just wasn't that day.
Who's Deborah?
Some senator. Here we go. Your ABC 6 first warning weather for today. Few light snow showers and flurries are likely. Mostly cloudy skies. It's going to be cold out there. High of 20. Tonight, mostly cloudy to partly cloudy skies. High of 24. For Sunday, starts to warm up a little bit. Mostly to partly cloudy skies. High of 35. Next Thursday, Ed, 54. Can you believe that? Currently 13 degrees on your severe weather station. News Radio 610 WTVN.
Serving Columbus and all of Ohio.
aliens, and now it's just immigrants. I mean, they don't even say illegal anymore. So
Right.
It's like
Hey, I want to say, wish a good friend of ours a happy birthday, Manny Munoz.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Manny, I think he turned 50 yesterday. What a young man.
Really?
Jeez.
We've had a couple in the department hitting that age here recently.
Whippersnappers, that's what I say.
That's right.
That's what they are.
Welcome back to On Target. I'm your host, Eric, joined today in the LEPD studios. I got my good friend Ed sitting to my right and JC to my left. Mr. Chuck Douglas is at home with the family today.
He's watching us on Facebook, though. He's keeping
really?
track.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
We miss you, Chuck.
I can't say anything bad. And then
Yes, we can.
Paul's probably not listening to us. He was here, set up the show, got out of here, is off doing something for someone, I'm sure, somewhere. JC, what you got?
Well, this is kind of a unusual story, but a big story potentially. Okay, it's a fish story. Okay, so the Supreme Court is going to hear a case involving fishermen. So the fishermen have been challenging, and the Supreme Court agreed to hear this, the National Marine Fisheries Service rule. And this rule they came up with said that, hey, we want to make sure you're not overfishing, so you've got to install cameras, we've got to have surveillance, and you have to, oh, by the way, you have to pay for the whole thing to make sure you're not overfishing. And Big Brother's going to be looking at this, and you've got to see this. So what does that have to do with us? Well, they basically, what they have challenged, the plaintiffs have challenged what is referred to as the Chevron Doctrine. We've talked about the Chevron Doctrine sometime. Actually, the Supreme Court heard this case. The Chevron Doctrine came out of it in 84, so 1984, pardon me. And what they decided was, the government can't write rules for everything. So, and Chevron appealed what the EPA was saying about their mining and cleaning up stuff in West Virginia. So, they back then the Chevron was said nope, and they appealed this. They said nope. This agency can make these rules and laws because we just can't make everything, and it's been that way. But now these fishermen have brought up the same thing. You're making us install this, pay for it ourselves, and we'll be in violation if we don't. Well, it's come to the Supreme Court, and so why does this affect us? Well, basically because they're looking at how laws could be passed by non-elected officials that affect citizens and create penalties, and some are criminal penalties. So as it came to the Supreme Court, and this was they've heard the case. They haven't released their decision yet, but Justice Neil Gorsuch described this doctrine as the government always wins a situation where they can, at a flim, say, hey, here's what we want you to do. They do it, and all of a sudden it's a law without going through any kind of congressional oversight. They argued that the Chevron doctrine has given the executive branch wide license to flip-flop its interpretations on statutes that fit its policy goals. And this came from, I also looked at the Supreme Court blog. They have a blog out there where they said, based on the justices' questions, it appears that the Supreme Court might be ready to neuter or abolish the Chevron doctrine altogether. It's evident that Biden-Harris, this is not what they said, but it is evident that Biden-Harris administration has been using executive overreach as a weapon against the firearms industry. And I think that we know all these cases that have happened. That Garland versus Cargill, that was the case on the bump stocks. So that one, by the way, was granted review by the Supreme Court because they were reclassifying bump stocks as machine guns. Now, machine guns, that's regulated by Congress. Congress decides what was in the 1934 Act, but also the 1968 Gun Control Act. But so under the federal law, yet they had the ATF decide, hey, no, they're going to be criminal, tens of millions of people are going to be felon. So that case is set to be heard on February 28th. So they're going to hear that individual case on February 28th by the Supreme Court. Also, the U.S. Court of Appeals in the Fifth Circuit held that the ATF exceeded their authority when they published the final rule redefining what constitutes a frame or receiver in the Biden administration's attempt to ban the ability of Americans to make their own privately owned guns. And the Fifth Court said, nope, you can't do that. You exceeded that. That's up for Congress. Judge Kirk Engelhardt happened to write in a 3-0 opinion that, I love this, the ATF, in promulgating its final rule, attempted to take on the mantle of Congress to do something, but it is not the province of an executive agency to write the laws of our nation. And it's clear that Supreme Court justices are skeptical of the Chevron doctrine. Politico, which another a website that just looks at political cases that are coming up. Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote that, I love this, the Chevron doctrine, quote, deserves a tombstone that no one can miss. I love that. Justice Alito wrote that it is an increasingly maligned precedent. Brett Kavanaugh wrote that the doctrine is judicially orchestrated shift of power from Congress to the executive branch, and Clarence Thomas wrote a concurrence also. So both of these cases are expected in June, the fishermen cases, but everyone is saying that it looks like, if that's overturned, that means it applies not just to the fishermen, but all these agencies out there that are creating rules and regulations that Congress should be responsible for, not some bureaucrat sitting in the ATF. So
that's good. I mean,
anyway,
when you were going through that, John, what state did we report on? California or Michigan that now FFLs have to install cameras that record 24 hours a day and this? I mean,
at their own expense.
At their own expense. Right.
And they said it would cost the average store in the 10 to tens of thousands. Every entrance that you have in the store, every exit in the store, every counter, every sale, transaction they want that recorded. This is all in their effort to stamp out firearms. That's just okay.
Wow.
Here's some good news.
Yep.
Short one. The National Shooting Sports Foundation has actually released the firearm ownership and sports shooting participation for 2022. Again, it takes a long time to get all this information together, but what they found out that in the last 13 years there's been excuse me, a 24%, a little over 24% growth in adult participation in shooting sports, but just recently they've determined that shooting sports grew in 13 years from 34 million adult participants to over 63.5 million participants. So that is a huge increase. The most popular shooting recreational sports, the target shooting with a handgun is about 16.9%, target shooting with a rifle 15.6%, and target shooting in an outdoor range 13.3%. What that means, 63.5 million. We've got people on our side now. That's a lot of folks.
That is.
When you go to take the stuff away from them that they've spent hundreds and thousands of dollars for, anyway, that's
crazy.
Encouraging.
All right, let's jump to the bottom of the hour news. When we come back, we're going to talk about a gun of the week, and we're also going to talk about sites. We're on Target, broadcasting live from the studios of LEPD Farms Range. We'll be back right after the break.
Windows are transparent, so shouldn't the process of buying windows be transparent? At APCO, we don't offer smoke and mirror deals like buy two, get two free. How is that a sale when our everyday price is less? APCO gives you a clear, straightforward estimate. Nothing shady about it. Just a promise to do a great job at a fair price. So if you're looking for transparency, APCO is absolutely the clear choice.
Absolutely, you can trust APCO.
APCO.com.
Scott and Melinda Grassett
are they saying that illegals can buy
Life with a
guns?
disability can be a challenge, but we've got your back.
Yeah.
We're Ohio's exclusive custom modification shop for the disabled.
Whether it's cars, boats, scooter, vans, or even lawnmowers, we're the go-to crew.
All right, when we come back, we will do car.
Any vehicle or stairlift system.
For over 26 years, Columbus has trusted us to make their life easier.
Visit columbusmobility.com or give us a call at 614-825-8996.
When we come back, let's do that one real quick.
More information
and then
about
car,
contests
then we'll go to a break and come back to the site for the last
News, traffic, and weather for Columbus. News Radio 610 WTVN.
American Electric Power is announcing plans to lay off more than 250 employees, including many in Ohio. The electricity provider says they're cutting back across their 11-state coverage area, but 107
is that. In addition, that does not cover the mandated Department of Justice application fee or the cost of fingerprinting, psychological testing, all this stuff. So,
guys, Ed, this is
what?
The thing that I just showed you, we just got a text from a good friend of ours saying that there was a ruling, a federal court found a long-standing law banning gun possession for for illegals, I guess, is overturned. Basically saying if you're here illegally,
you can have a gun.
Yes.
What kind of bull?
What? You can say bullshit.
What kind of bullshit is that?
Wow.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, it is. And then you should be able to vote.
Violates the Second Amendment for illegal.
But if you're breaking a law, I mean, isn't jumping the border a law that you've broken?
Yeah.
Isn't that a federal law?
Yes.
So
is that a felony? I would assume.
So all these millions of people that the cartel has sent over can now also be armed. So now we have
the thing. How are they going to go and buy it in a gun store? I mean, we're not selling them.
Well, they're going to change that pretty soon too.
Well, probably they give them IDs.
I mean, if they're gonna allow them to have it,
they don't have any money or jobs. The government will pay for this.
There you go.
Government will. I mean, they're already giving them hotel rooms, free everything.
Right.
It's just amazing. And they're over here, and guess what? There's no jobs for them. They're complaining about.
Huh. So, well, they're ruining the hospitals.
Maybe they can run new cartel gun ranges. Maybe they'll put some cartel, buy some gun ranges in there, and those guys can run that.
All right, JC, when we come back, we'll do a 1 or 2 liner on the post office. We'll talk about cars, go to a quick break, come back and talk about sites. What do you think about that, Edward?
I think it's great.
All right, thanks.
Facility. This is On Target, the latest from the firearms industry, the products and politics that affect your hobby and liberty. This program may not be politically correct, but it is On Target. Now, your host, Eric Delbert.
Welcome back to On Target. I'm your host, Eric. Joined today in the LAPD studios. I got JC to my left, Big Ed to my right. Mr. D is listening in. I know it. So we're not going to talk any bad things about
Facebook.
him. You know, totally off topic and stuff. You hear our opening music. You know, we did that, John. That was like 7 or 8 years ago.
Wow.
I still like it. I mean,
well,
for those who are just tuning in, the theme of that, which is AC/DC, Highway to Hell.
Yep.
There was a little significance. It wasn't just because, we're AC/DC fans. Do you remember why we chose that song?
Well, I know that because the vice president of the National Education Association, the NEA, put out publicly that if you are a member of the NRA, you are going to hell. And that's what she said.
So I figured if we're going, then maybe this right here is the highway to hell.
Highway to hell.
So. There you go, Edward. There's a little backstory. There's always a backstory, John. John, speaking of backstories, you got a kind of an interesting story about our post office.
Yeah, I used to like to play post office when I was very, very young. So, but this is a little different. This is the federal firearms ban of firearms possession in post offices is unconstitutional. So is the ruling last Saturday, in a Saturday ruling of U.S. District Judge Catherine Mizell. And she determined that simply the blanket ban of not being able to carry a firearm in post offices is violating the Second Amendment rights. That basically what I loved, she goes back, this Bruin. I said we've always said Bruin has got legs. So she said traditionally, when it's incongruent with American tradition of firearms regulations to ban them in these places. It's never been done before in the past, so it's illegal. What I loved about her, she went further and just saying, look, federal bans of firearms in federal places. And she said, between all the federal offices with the expansion of the federal government, and she said already the federal government owns about 28% of all lands and buildings in the United States. And she said, so preventing bans of firearms in all of these places would basically nullify the Second Amendment rights. So I love that reasoning for her. So I thought that was a good ruling.
That's good. Something to definitely watch in the future. So let's shift gears a little bit, JC. Let's shift gears a little bit for a Gun of the Week brought to you by our friends over at River's Edge.
Where is it?
The Gun of the Week.
Which one is it?
It's not here.
What?
Not here.
How can we have a Gun of the Week?
So I'm going to tee this up because for all them young employees out there listening, I had a conversation last night. I think I'm going to label it as a conversation. Yeah. It was a little more of a heated debate. And this next gun, that is the Gun of the Week, that is I think going to be announced at SHOT Show, but we got a little release we saw out there. We are super excited. And I'm here to kind of state the case for the company too, because a lot of the younger generation here, they there and they look at the trigger. Oh man, that's not a good trigger. I mean, these are the guys who won't drink water out of the tap, right? Because that's too good for that. I got to have a bottled water and stuff. But Car Arms has made a phenomenal gun for years. Not always the greatest on the marketing side, and there were some very specific things about the Car Arms that you and I and Dad for a long time have looked at it and said, that is a wonderful piece of
it is. It's
machinery and stuff.
Incredible firearm.
Okay. And I think, John, you can go through some of the high-level specs on these.
Car Arms, I mean, the gentleman who he's a target shooter who decided to come up with several ideas that he had. He's a very, very smart guy. As a matter of fact, on the trigger, he has 7 patents on the trigger. And some of the patents that he has on how the trigger's slightly offset lets them lower the bore axis. So it makes it, the lowest bore axis would mean that the gun doesn't rise as much when you fire it. Ideally, for those looking, you'd like to hold a gun right here that still goes straight back and doesn't rise at all. That's not feasible. But anyway, so he's come up with this trigger, and the beauty of it, for us, if you like revolvers, because revolvers are safe. Revolvers don't have safeties on them. The safety is the fact that you have this long trigger pull. So he basically put a very smooth and light trigger, like a revolver has, in a semi-automatic. And I think why the new gun, if it doesn't have a 2-pound trigger pull or something, it's not worth anything. But this particular gun, the Car line, and he makes kind of an economy line called the CW, like a concealed weapon sign, and then the deluxe version is kind of more the PM. And they're very, very small, and I was truly astounded on the accuracy. It maybe, with all the firearms that I have had and encountered with, it's one of the most accurate I've ever had. Even with a 3-inch barrel, I outshoot some Target 45s that I have with 5-inch barrels. I mean, it is super accurate. This light trigger pull, so there's no safety on it. The safety is the fact, and we've seen there's no magazine in here, and I've had this change, but it's smooth as can be. He puts an extra wide trigger on it. You get more of your flesh on there. It seems much lighter than it even really measures to, and it is just. It is amazing. And so they're small, and
they are, and terrific. They were very popular. I mean, they're not as popular today as they once were when we opened up. 380, 945. The 45 to this day, and if you look, we have one right here. To this day, is an extremely small firearm, probably about the footprint of a shield.
Well, if you compare this with a 9mm, the trigger guard is exactly the same, and it's only, like I would say, it's probably 3/4 of an inch longer, and the width is so close to the 9, and it is a 45 ACP.
And to this day, this is what I carry on my ankle while I'm on duty. That's how much, I've trusted it and I've had it for a long, long time. So one of the complaints with the line is that they haven't been up to speed on capacity. They haven't put out a new model, John, for years. For those who don't know Car, they're also owned by the same people who own Thompson Center Arms and Magnum Research, I believe, all owned by the same group. So very, very reputable. A single stack magazine, though, has been a little bit of their detriment. I mean, so by today's standard, I think, what is your 6+1, John?
Well, normally this is a 7+1, the same that you have in the other one over there. So I just carry this particular one, because number one, it gives my little finger. Number one, gives me an extra round. But still, it pales with the new stuff that's out there that have the double stack magazines. So
until now. So they just announced the Car X9.
The X9, and we saw a review of it without some updates that they said, no, we're going to do this, and this. The new one will be optic ready. So like a lot, it will also have an abbreviated Picatinny on there. But the beauty of it is, not only is it double stack, it'll take double stack Car magazines, which will be like 10+1. It will take any of the SIG 365 magazines or the Springfield Hellcat magazines. You'll have your choice of, and they make, Hellcat has a 15 round magazine. SIG's got 12 round mags.
Oh, 15,
so it will carry any of those, and you'll still have that same wonderful trigger, which I really, really like. I told you the small group I fired with one. I never even saw the gun before, even heard of it before. And a guy said, "Hey, can you shoot this for me, see if it's accurate?" I actually thought I missed the target because I didn't see any bullet holes in the target at all. That's because they were all in the little blue dot that you put on sales items at a garage sale to say $1 for here. Had a little blue dot on there. All 5 rounds went right into the dot. It was just, I was shocked. So I immediately bought one. So did one of our trainers here, and it's one of the most accurate guns I've ever had.
Yep.
And that it just
certainly looking forward to that. And an optic ready. Double mag, being able to carry
my car
10
mag?
plus one.
Here's my 365 mag. Here's my Hellcat mag.
Right, that's amazing.
Amazing.
I'm curious to how that will pan out, being able to take all the different mags and stuff. But a great company, very well respected. And the one other thing too, I think one of the criticisms, at least the guys around here have, is that it is difficult to pull back the slide. More so than other guns. And there's a reason, though, for that, and that is because it attributes to a softer shooting gun.
Much softer. And one of the things that I remember is your son, when he was little, I mean, I don't know if he was like 11 or something.
10 or 11,
10 or 11, shot the 45, shot a whole box or more of 45 ACP and said, oh, yeah, it didn't recoil at all. And that was in this particular gun. So that was in the PM 45 from Carr. And a lot of people, I've read a lot of stuff from the sheriff said his wife couldn't handle the 38 in the light round, but you can handle the 45.
Right.
And she said it's so light recoiling in the 45 ACP, but couldn't handle a 38 special. So
it's just, I mean, there's a lot of good attributes to it. Carr will even tell you that, hey, this is not necessarily a great gun for the first gun for someone, but for those who, looking for certain characteristics, it is a wonderful gun, very well made, very nice looking.
And the 380 is miniaturized. It has a very, people go, whoa, what's going on here? It's a very tough to pull the slide back. However, it's small and absorbs all that in a lightweight gun. Just, they're very easy to shoot.
And Dad just bought one.
Very accurate. Very accurate.
Yes. All right, guys, that's something to look forward to. In 2 weeks, I'm sure we'll go through this and much more from the SHOT Show. Let's jump to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about sights. We're going to talk about all the different types that come on the guns today and what's out there if you want to change them out. We're on Target broadcasting live from the studios of LAPD Firearms Range. We'll be back right after the break.
We're navigating.
Got any of those in stock?
No, we haven't had these for years. We haven't for years because no one buys them. I mean, they're $700-800, and people gripe about the slide and everything else.
Very lucky. It's not on the air, but a guy came up to me. I was doing an outside class, just finishing up. He'd watched everything. Older gentleman stood in the back and came up, and he said, hey, I just got this gun. Can you see if it's accurate? And he said, I've got palsy, but he said, I just have it for close home defense, but he said, I just don't know. And I never even heard of it before. It's KAHR, never heard of it. So I stepped off 8 paces, if I remember. So I figured around, 21 feet out there. Just had a piece of typing paper on cardboard, and I didn't have any, magic marker with me. But I remember I had some sales stickers that I used, and I put one on there. I was just firing from a sandbag, fired 5 rounds, and I thought, God, it's not even on the paper. And so I went, whatever this car is. I walked out. All the shots were 5 shots.
The 9 or the 45?
The 9. This particular, the 9. And all the shots were inside that. So Vince, who's one of our instructors up here, he goes, what's that? I go, look at this. He goes, and so he said, hey, can I try that? And the guy said, sure. He gave us, Vince 5 more rounds. Vince sat down. I put a red dot next to the other one I fired. And Vince was, all of his shots touched the red dot. I think he had maybe 1 in there of the 5, but it was that accurate. We both went out. We got him a half price because we're NRA instructors. And
here we go.
Call 1-800-COOLING.
Your ABC6 first warning weather for today. A few light snow showers are still lingering around. It's going to be cold out there, though, high of 20. Tonight, mostly to partly cloudy skies. The winds pick up, high of 24. Sunday, mostly to partly cloudy skies once again, high of 37. Next week, though, 54 on Thursday. Currently 14 degrees on your severe weather station, News Radio 610 WTVN.
Headline updates and the smart talk in between. News Radio 610 WTVN.
Ed, is that your Harley out there?
That's what it sounds like. Good song.
Sounds like my arrhythmias.
Hey, while we're doing this, I want to do another shout out. Happy birthday to my sister-in-law, Susie.
All right, Susie. Wake up a little, Susie.
Send out an email. He'll give you a shout out. Send him
live on Facebook. Just send me a message.
There you go. One of these days we're just gonna let the song play, John. Call it a day. Let the song play. Put the headsets down. Welcome back to On Target. I am your host Eric. Joined today. I got Big Ed to my right, JC to my left. Bunch of guns and sights and all kinds of fun stuff sitting on the table. Guys, for the remaining time here, we got about 10 minutes. We're going to keep an eye to the clock. But we want to talk a little bit about sights. We're not talking about optics. That's a whole other show, a whole other day when you start to get into red dot optics and the different optics that are out there that are extremely popular. Today, though, we wanted to take a step back and look at what are the common sighting systems that come with modern-day pistols, and whether there's something out there that's better for you. So we have a bunch of guns out here. We're going to kind of just go around here. John, I'm going to show them to you, and you tell me, what it's called, a 3-dot, high vis or whatever. We're going to start with something a little bit different, John. So I have my little C-Camp 380 here.
C-Camp.
And what kind of sights do you see on that?
There's no sight on there. That is a point shoot close up,
That's
and
a
there
belly
you go.
gun.
That is truly, and a high quality handmade. But they're great. But there's not a
so
sight
there
on
is some firearms out there that you buy that have no sights on it whatsoever. That's the intent. It's intent for deep carry, deep concealment, up close and personal. The C-Camp is probably one of the most well-known for that.
And point shooting still works at very close range. When you have your finger not on the trigger, because you don't ever point with your fist closed going, oh, look at that. Hey, there's Bob over there.
Right.
With your finger out and right along that slide, you're really only about a half an inch high or low. And that one, you're pretty much right on there, just about a quarter of an inch over from where your finger's pointing. So you don't need, boom, it's great.
So, John, as we go around the table here, another one that some people criticize for not having good sights when you buy the gun new, but there is a purpose for what it has. We have your iconic Smith & Wesson J-frame revolver. What kind of sight you have on that, JC?
Well, it's a channeled use sight, and there's in all the training that I've done, no one even realizes there's a sight in there. Even you tell them, because it's milled right in flat with the top of the frame, and but it does have you still have a front sight, and if you really wanted to take your time, but that's not what this gun is for. It's just a step up from this one with no sights. You have a front sight, and of course, as we teach in there, you aim the front sight. That's where you want it to be, and that's where it is. It's not a target gun. It's a defense gun.
And so most of these you wouldn't, not necessarily aftermarket sights for it. At best, people paint that front sight.
I do.
Pick it up.
Yeah. Yep. You just get some high-vis paint and just fill in those little grooves in the front sight. And
or we have a product by Birchwood Casey, I think that you can do different colors or whatever. But at that point, it's acquisition of it. You try to make it a little more visible for you. Yeah. Now there is someone in the live studio audience. We have a live studio audience.
We do have a live studio. I know. Hey, look at them. Hey, there they are. Hey, there they are.
And I point out one of our lovely patrons out there. He just bought a revolver, and it is a Smith & Wesson, a little bit nicer one though, kind of like mine. That front sight I think is actually a sight, like a big dot sight on it, or a high vis or something. Right, okay. So there is ones you can buy that have an actual more traditional sight, but for the most part, a lot of the J-frame revolvers are similar, have a ramp sight.
Yeah.
So as you go up or down the spectrum here, let's see what you have there, Edward. Okay, now this one right here. So, actually, this one. Yeah. So, John, this is probably one of the most popular sighting systems. This happens to be on my car here, but it is the traditional 3-dot sight.
The 3-dot sight, and whether it's a U channel or Steyr uses some kind of a V channel, but the whole purpose is on the rear sight is to mark it so as you pull it up, your eye will pick it up a little better. On target guns, usually it's flat black on the front, flat in the back, and you do the pumpkin on the post where the targets are round that you're shooting at. You just have it so it sits directly on it, and you don't need that because you have a white background. But anything you're going to use for home defense, you really need to have a sight. And the 3-dot sight's probably the most popular, if you would say, of all of them. This particular one, which we can get into later, but anyway, has tritium in it, which is a radioactive element that glows in the dark. So not only can you use it during the day, because a lot of the folks who make these put an outline of like white in the back. So during the day you see a white, and at night you see the you see the glowing green light. By the way, if you have tritium, the half-life on it is 12 years. So after 12 years, it's only half as bright as when you got it. Then another, it's a good point
to make, John, because a lot of the duty guns, a lot of the guns out there now come with some type of a night sight, often referred to it as. And the one on the car here are just a basic ones. All of the dots are about the same size, kind of small, but honestly, that is almost something that is going away. And I'm going to jump a little bit here because it's something that I've gotten into it more. You have to ask yourself, is this firearm for protection, or is it for more going to the range and target shooting? And the reason I say that is when you're talking about a firearm for protection, for concealed carry, you want that quick acquisition a lot of times. It's not going to be, we always say it's not going to, shooting is not going to occur at a time and place of your choosing. It's going to be stowed upon you. And oftentimes that doesn't mean you're going to be able to sit there and get your feet right. Okay, I got my knees bent a little. Okay, now I'm ready. No, it's going to be quick. And you want those sighting systems to be able to be picked up on quick. So those night sights, for me, if they a lot of now have a big dot on the front.
Yep.
And big dot, that is also
it's a dot. It's just easier to see. So I mean, and we always say, where the front sight is pointed, that's where the bullet is going to go, and that's why we say front. The last thing the bullet does is that when it leaves it goes out the end of the barrel, and what's on the end of the barrel is that front sight. So if it's bigger and at night and during the day and as eyes get older, it's easier to pick it up. And,
not necessarily good for going to the range to shoot the bullseye out at 50 feet. But it's something that you can a quick acquisition, and that a lot of times that's what we're seeing people change to after they buy their gun.
Talk about a company XS. That's what XS that they make. Big dot sights, so it's just easier to acquire.
A couple of the other ones that you might see on a gun now that are becoming really popular are what they call suppressor height sights, and they were meant to be elevated up a little bit. They actually now, though, are becoming very popular on guns where an optic is put on, because now you can co-witness through that optic, and so the suppressor height sights are something we're seeing coming more and more on guns right out of the box.
Sometimes there's a lot of debate on the co-witness. It looks very, very cool here, but the people say, look, you're defeating the purpose of the red dot, which is to have both eyes open and not have to aim. And there's a lot of stuff out there. The people who make these say that when you have these, it's actually better to have the red dot about a third up. It's easier to acquire, and you don't have to worry about trying to do it. But I kind of like the co-witness, but as they were saying, it's kind of redundant with your iron sight. But I just like the fact, that looks so
JC,
good.
all these sights that come with the guns,
good.
They're very adequate, they're good. But why would someone want to buy something different? We have here in front, and I know we're hitting up against the time, but Trigicon is a huge manufacturer of aftermarket sights. Not just aftermarket, some of them come with it. Yeah. And these are ones that you can purchase here. You can take to the gunsmith for $35 to $60, depending on what it is. You can have them put it on. And so you can buy those suppressor height sights. You can buy some that have the big dot in the front.
And the suppressor heights, because you put a suppressor on it, or a can, as they say, that has thickness, so you need your sights to go above that. So that's why they switch those out, not solely to co-witness with a with a red dot. So those are good, and you can get all sorts of things. Like you can get some that have a big red circle on the front with with the tritium inside of it, such as these have an orange one, very, very popular. Most of them are 3 dots. I put this on one of my firearms. Not only does it have tritium, but for the daytime, it actually has fiber optic included also. So the sight's longer, but during the day, it picks up the ambient lighting, and I have that glowing.
And that's by what? True Glow.
Yeah, it's called by True Glow. I have that on one of my Glocks.
Yep.
And I really like it, and it works really, really well.
Night Vision, another reputable company out there, probably in direct competition to Trigicon. We sell those, but really, most modern guns, you can have some type of sighting system put on, something that meets your needs, whether it be night sights, whether it be a sight for target practice or personal defense.
As I said earlier, this is one of the things you can do that's relatively inexpensive to upgrade your gun to you personally. So, take a look at these. These are really, really excellent. Will improve your shooting, improve your defensiveness. So that's what it's all about.
Yep. Stop by and check us out on those, and stop by and talk to Sean, the gunsmith, about having those put on. Guys, thanks for spending the last hour with us. I don't know where it goes. It goes way too quick. Stay with us next couple weeks. Got some exciting shows coming up. And stop by and see us.
We're going to go to the SHOT Show, right?
I wish we were. Guys, as always, remember, let's be careful out there.
Listen on the free iHeartRadio for all your music, news, talk,
and the crowd cheers, Ed.
Too.
Download the app.
Free never sounded so good.
Are you looking for new countertops? Distinctive Marble and Granite is having the largest blowout inventory sale ever. Thousands of slabs in stock. Tens of thousands of satisfied customers. Thousands of 5-star reviews. And Central Ohio voted Distinctive Marble and Granite the C-Bus top pick for countertops 5 years in a row. Visit distinctivemarbleandgranite.com for hours and directions. Or stop in today for the best selection. They are conveniently located in Dublin, Plain City. Distinctive Marble and Granite. Your choice for countertops in Central Ohio.
Get a new look for your home. Get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield. Call 844-RHINO-88 today and get 20% off the regular price. Or schedule an appointment at rhinoshieldOH.com.
Oh, my ankle? Too big. Too much weight.
Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hi, it's Bill and Jenny from Simple Bath and
I'm ready whenever you
We
are.
know how overwhelming renovations can feel when there are so many design options to choose from.
We invite you to our showroom in Hilliard
This is Eric
to
from
meet
OnTarget.
with our
This week
design
we keep
team.
you up to date on your right to bear arms, and the gun of the week is sponsored by CNS
Simple Bath and
Engraving.
Kitchen.
Tune in
Where
Saturday
our
at noon.
home is
Or
your home.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes.
This is Eric from OnTarget. This week we keep you up to date on your right to bear arms, and the gun of the week is sponsored by CNS Engraving. Tune in today at noon, or stop by and see us live at LEPD Studios on Bethel Road.
Age-related macular degeneration, or AMD.
Tune in tomorrow at noon, or live from LEPD Studios
there's
on
an
Bethel Road.
advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy.
Tune in
or
today at
GA.
noon, or live
His
from
struggle
LEPD
with
Studios
vision
on Bethel
loss
Road.
made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some,
Thank you. Hey, I'll let you know about next week. I'm actually going to be out of town.
For others, blurry or
so
missing
it's either going to be
spots
the
can
Chuck
make it hard
Douglas
to read or see loved one's faces.